Auzu billahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to my new vlog. But before that, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Our topic in this vlog is about the Freedom Day of the Bangsamoro people to be conducted on March uh, 18, 2023. They started during the Jabida massacre when there were hundreds of trainees sent to Corregidor Island. And because of that, they were massacred. A lot of trainees were dead and they were brutally killed and massacred. And this ignited the liberation awareness of the Bangsamoro people. Uh, there started revolutionary groups and revolutionary movements which shaped the foundation of liberation attempts of the Bangsamoro people in this part of the world. During those time, there were uh, fissures between the Philippine government and Malaysia, and those trainees would be used to invade Sabah because, according to history, Sabah is part of the Sultanate of Sulu, and given that Sulu is part of the Philippine government, it goes without saying that Sabah is part of the Philippines, and this problem is still not resolved. It remained unresolved as of this speaking. But there were times that uh, the the relationship of Malaysia and Philippines is becoming cool, and sometimes it becomes hot. There started this kind of Freedom Day, March 18, 2023. The theme of this Freedom Day or the Bangsamoro Day is enhancing national unity through mainstreaming Bangsamoro history, and this is very unbelievably fantastic because that's true. We cannot resolve and we cannot reconcile the people of the Philippines without understanding our history. We know that the first inhabitants of Sulu, the inhabitants of Mindanao, and even Luzon were Muslims, were Moro during those times. In fact, Magellan landed in Mactan, and he landed uh, there, and they had this. There were uh, quarrels and fights and battles in Mactan and in Cebu, and they were Muslims that time. And no less than the former president Duterte recognize and acknowledge this truth that the first inhabitants of the Philippines were Muslims. And because of that, in this part of the world, in Southeast Asia, we had two important sultanates. The first one is the Sultanate of Malacca and the Sultanate of Brunei. The Sultanate of Brunei extended its maritime power, even as far as Luzon, Visayas, and in Mindanao. Sultanate of Malacca were governing the entire region of what is now Indonesia and some part of Malaysia, and that's true. That's basic in history. We know that everyone accepted that reality. The geopolitical reality in those times were that in this part of the world were governed by Muslims until the rise of the colonial powers such as Spain and Portugal. Portugal was able to dismantle the very structure of the Sultanate of Malacca. Portuguese Empire was able to raise the entire existence of Malacca to the ground. And out of the ashes of this Malacca Sultanate arose two sultanates, the Sultanate of Aceh and the Sultanate of Johor. And in the part of the Philippines, what is now Philippines, governing by Sultanate of Brunei, it was of course fought side by side with its brothers in the Sultanate of Malacca, but its enemy is not Portugal but Spain. And Spain conquered and fought the existence of sultanates in Mindanao and even in Luzon and Visayas. In history, if you go back in history, we know that how the entire archipelago in the entire Mindanao uh, was under the brutality and occupation of Spain, and Spanish came even in Pikit and in our very land, in our very home in the Bangsamoro. We saw this kind of occupation. And after the Spanish government in 1898, uh, there was this independence in Luzon, but that's not really an independence because after the granting of independence, the American power came to the Philippines and invaded once and for all. And after the American occupations, we saw the again the brutality of the our ASEAN brother occupied our lands in Bangsamoro in the entire Philippines. That is the Japanese Empire. And after the Japanese Empire, American granted this independence of the Philippines in 1946, and the Bangsamoro were left behind. And a lot of petitions and memorandums were sent to the United States asking an independence of the Bangsamoro people. But those petitions fell to deaf ears of the superpower, and there started this kind of liberation or movement and liberation thinking of the Bangsamoro, because they know very well that they are independent since time immemorial, and they did not bow down to the powers of the European powers. And because of that, they will not, of course, bow down to the Philippine government, the newly established Philippine government. And there started the never ending assertion of the right to self-determination until arm became an arrangement. And after the arm, which was considered as a failed experiment, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao only 4 years ago was established. And we, of course, after 4 years, we see the development in the Bangsamoro. And of course, the development is not happening in around the clock, but we see differences in the past. And because of this, uh, we are seeing this development and empowered autonomy, and we see the 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 legislation of different codes in the Bangsamoro, and we hope that everything will go for the better. And of course, this is not yet the end of the game. A lot of things must happen in the future, and in 2025 we will see the whole world coming together in our land, and seeing and witnessing the destiny making election in 2025. And we cannot that democracy, the democratic process will be different, because that's the first time in the history of the Bangsamoro that a lot of the international institutions and international um, agencies will come in the Bangsamoro, witnessing this first time in the whole of history. And we will hope, and we hope that there's going to be a better election after the legislation, after the enactment of this Bangsamoro electoral code. We will see a democratic process emerging, and democracy in the making in this part of the world. So we will see, and we hope that this will be the beginning of a peaceful exercise of political right of the Bangsamoro. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.